Morning, Dr. Kavita Shai.
Good morning, sir.
Students, we are entering the second lecture of the day. We have with us now Dr. Kavita Sairam. She has an expertise in the field of microbial stress biology and received her PhD from IIT Madras 2012. In addition to microbial biochemistry, she has immense experience in clinical biochemistry through her formal training at JIPMER during BSc and MSc programs. She is an experienced researcher with multiple scientific projects to her credit, in addition to several publications and patents. She is the first generation entrepreneur and co-founded FIB-SOL Life Technologies in 2014 and has successfully converted a technology into a marketable product based on nanotechnology platform. Apart from the above, she has led the team to win various challenges. Notable amongst these are the Swiss Next Shift Lab Challenge 2016, where FIB-SOL was the only team to be selected from India, IHEB 2.0, where FIB-SOL was selected as one of the top 10 innovations from 1,200 applicants. She is also a recipient of Kevin Care MMA Chinni Krishnan Award in 2017. FIB-SOL also bagged the first prize National Bio Entrepreneurship Competition 2017 under her guidance. FIB-SOL is currently in the commercial phase and products are available in the market. So with this short introduction, I invite Dr. Kavita Sairam to deliver the lecture.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So let me start sharing my screen. I hope you can see the screen. I'll just put it in slideshow. So yeah, is the screen visible?
Yes, Doctor.
So good morning, everyone. Hope you had a good breakfast and all of you are awake. So I'm just going to walk through on smart technologies, agriculturally important smart technologies, which are also going to contribute to the environmental benefits. So what FIB-SOL has done and where are we in this journey is what I'm going to just educate you on. So tomorrow, later, in any of you are interested in coming up with new technologies, you'll have an idea of where the problem is to be identified and how to solve the problem and how you can take it forward. And there is no single success story, or there is no a single path of journey, right? Everybody has their own way of traveling and the own way of learning things and own way of solving problems. So I am just here to just give you an eye opener on what is happening on ground. It is not that this is the way it should be, or this is how it is. This is just one of the ways that FIB-SOL has followed in order to address certain issues on ground. So with this, let me move on into like what are we doing in FIB-SOL. So FIB-SOL, initially when we started this company, it was going to focus on different fields, inclusive of healthcare and material sciences. But later on, we realized the knowledge is mostly becoming more it was more relevant to agriculture and problems in agriculture, and there was a necessity for new technologies in agriculture, which was where our knowledge was also fitting well. That is where we started focusing more on agriculture with our knowledge. And another a small intro about the company per se. The company was founded by a group of scientists, basically from IIT Madras. So we had a PhD program in IIT Madras. That's where we met and we joined hands to start this company. So it is more of a research oriented company, and our challenge is how we really try to convert this research into a scalable product and commercialize it. So that is where our challenge is, and that is what we are also trying to address today. Today we are more in the commercial phase, trying to promote our products in the commercial segment. Now, if you say in agriculture, there are two types of fertilizers we use in order to provide the nutrients that plants need. So one are the chemical fertilizers, the other is the organic fertilizers. So the macronutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium can be provided by the chemical fertilizers. And organic fertilizers mainly provide the carbon that is needed by the soil. And this carbon actually enriches the soil microbes that are present in the soil. And these soil microbes, they ensure that the macronutrients are provided to the plants. They either fix nitrogen from the atmosphere, they solubilize phosphorus, they solubilize potassium, they solubilize other micronutrients like zinc, calcium, magnesium, etc., so that the plant gets all their nutrient requirements are met. So this is what is in general the segments of chemical and organic fertilizers. Now there is some issue here. There is a missing link here. I've been talking about chemicals, I've been talking about organic, but the missing link here is the soil microbes. So whatever type of nutrient or whatever type of fertilizer you're going to give it to the soil, there has to be some amount of bacteria in the soil which has to provide the activity to increase the nutrient utilization. Whatever nutrients you are providing has to be utilized and converted to a form it is assimilable by the plants. So the soil microbes become an important missing link or an important link in the entire fertilization. Now, what is happening? Why is that we're talking about soil microbes? Soil microbes are supposed to be in the soil, but that has not been the case because in the past 4 decades or 5 decades, we have lost the quality of the soil due to indiscriminate application of chemicals and pesticides. So that is where we are trying to address the issue of providing these microbes back to the soil. And again, why we have to provide this, why how do we address this? Actually, if you see, there are a lot of technology on ground, even the ancient technology, which tries to provide these soil bacteria back to the soil. People use products like panchakavyam, amritakaraisil, which are basically cow dung, manure and all that. So they try to provide these bacteria to the soil. But the challenges in most of these cases, or even in the existing technology, is the viability of the bacteria. So what is that you're actually delivering to the soil? Does it hold the entire live count that is supposed to give the desired effect? Is where the challenge is. And there are very few technologies addressing this issue. And especially when you talk about non-specific products, especially like panchakavyam or any of these ancient methodologies, we don't know what we enrich in them. So in a typical lab, we actually enrich a single type of bacteria. We know what we are growing. But in products such as this, there is no guarantee of what is that we are growing and what is that we may be growing a deleterious organisms and giving back to the soil, which is not going to meet our requirement. So that is where this biofertilizer or this soil bacterial technology becomes very important. So people have resorted to isolating the beneficial soil bacteria and then growing them in fermenters and giving back to the soil. So again, even if that has happened, even if that has happened and universities recommend all this, there is another issue because storing these soil bacteria is another challenge, because bacteria like us needs a niche environment. So if there is no niche environment, if you don't provide it a conducive environment, the bacteria doesn't survive in that. So now we have to come up with certain amount of technology which is going to produce this bacteria as well as preserve this bacteria in a viable form unless until it reaches the soil. So that is where FIB-SOL plays an important role in delivering these bacteria under a high payload and also at a live condition to the soil, is where we come in with our technology. So this is what we identified as a problem. We identified that there's a low soil bacteria. Though there are technologies available to replenish soil bacteria, those technologies don't address the viability or the stability of the bacteria till it is applied, as well as they don't address the count of the bacteria, the number of bacteria that is needed to actually provide the desired effect. So that is where we try to intervene with our technology. So I'll slowly be moving on to what is that we did in order to address that issue. There's a very small problem and a very small solution. I mean, it could look very, it's a very, what to say, the problem is also like something that people don't normally address, and the solution is also something that people don't really take much importance of. So that is where we try to make a difference. And now, what is the benefit of having a good soil bacteria? Now, what is going to happen? Actually, you can reduce the use of your chemicals and organic fertilizers, which means you're going to reduce the carbon footprint. Your environment is going to be safe, and the farmer also is able to save money. So there's a cost benefit to the farmer. It also reduces the fiscal burden on the government because, as you know, most of these chemical fertilizers are subsidized. So that is the other major advantage. advantage. And then the plants are healthier because it gets all the required macronutrients. This improves the immunity of the plants, and you are going to reduce your chemical pesticide usage. And these soil bacteria have the property of producing good polymers, which is actually going to improve the texture of the soil and retain the soil quality, which in other words is going to improve the water retention capacity of the soil and prevents leaching of most of your nutrients. And also they produce certain good plant growth hormones, which is going to help the plants yield better. So these are the benefits of good soil bacteria. If you aren't aware of what are the soil bacteria, I can just give you the beneficial soil bacteria like Acetobacter, Azospirillum, Rhizobium. Some of you might have heard, so for some of you it might be new, but these are the type of bacteria which are actually beneficial to the soil, and they do the effect of fixing nitrogen from the atmosphere, means they convert it into ammonium. And I don't know, like again, this might be basic biology, chemistry for you. And ammonium is the building block of amino acid, which in turn is the building block of protein, and that is the structural part of the plant. So that's how the plants grow. That's how all organisms grow in nature. So this is the background behind of why this soil bacteria and why this problem we started addressing. And now today, how they supply soil bacteria is through lignite, peat, talc, etc. They produce these bacteria in the fermenters. They mix them with carriers like lignite, peat, talc, etc. The latest technology is actually a liquid technology. So they have come up with adding osmotic stabilizers in buffers, and then they actually suspend these soil bacteria in them and then supply them in bottle, 1 liter, 2 liter bottle. So that's the latest technology. I'm going to ask you one question. If anybody out there can answer me this question, is there any similar technologies in healthcare? Is anybody going to answer this? One of you can mute and try answering this question. Anyone there?
You can unmute yourself and answer.
Yeah, sorry. You can unmute yourself and answer. Have you seen similar bacterial preservation technologies in healthcare? Is anyone aware of what it is?
To restore gut microbiota.
Okay, so you don't, yeah, it's your gut microbiota, exactly. But in the market, yeah, good, Archit. Actually, in the market, you get it as actually your probiotic drinks, right? Like your the sporolac powders that you take whenever you take antibiotics, or even your healthcare drinks like your all your yogurts, the flavored yogurts.
Yeah,
so more.
Yeah,
Danone, Yakult, etc. So all these are actually, this is a technology that is actually preserving your bacteria and supplying it in products. This is in healthcare and in food technology. So now if you see in most of these cases, you can actually afford to save these bacteria. Yeah, I know that. I'm just going back to the screen. So in most of these cases, the technology is intended to store the bacteria. So they use a costlier technology, which is actually a lyophilization or your encapsulation, entrapment, encapsulation, and then followed by lyophilization. So these are the methods that are used in healthcare in order to protect your bacteria. And if you see 10 to the power of 6 bacteria, which is being sold at say 30 to 40 rupees in the market, if you have to address this issue in agriculture, it's going to be very costly with this technology, which the farmers could not afford. So you have to come up with cheaper alternatives in order to store, say, preserve these soil bacteria and give them back to the soil. So that is what we intended to do. So this is our technology. So what today we are doing is we actually have an encapsulation technology. So we are encapsulating them in polymer blends. We concentrate, condense, and then we encapsulate them in polymer blends. So this is a technology. We've got a patent on it, and it is all today. It is all compliances. All so whenever you try to commercialize a product, you have to get all the regulatory certifications. So all the necessary regulatory certifications are done, and this product is out in the market today. So we sell it as NPK combo gel FIB-SOL products. If you you Google it, you'll find it. We have some marketing partners who are currently selling this for us. And now if you see in the right hand side of the slide, you will see that the stability of the bacteria is maintained for a period of 1 year in this particular carrier technology when compared to the conventional technology. So the red bars are the conventional technologies, wherein you see the drop in bacterial count within 2 months. Here you have a retained, the viability is retained till 1 year. So this is the advantage of the technology. It's a simple encapsulation technology. Now, this is how our product looks. The other advantages are it's just 100 ml pouch sufficient for an acre. So we are able to reduce the carrier material. So we made it lightweight, basically because it's an encapsulation technology. And also this is water soluble and it is 100% environmental friendly. And this is a platform technology wherein we are now trying to bring in other molecules. Today we have talked about biofertilizers, but we are also planning to bring in biocontrols, which is also currently in the market. And apart from that, we are planning to bring the biostimulants and micronutrients in the same carrier technology. So these are the things that we have actually done. And so this is one of the commercial, this is the way how we have identified the problem on ground, try to solve it with whatever limited knowledge we have and try to scale it up and commercialize. And so these are the advantages of our technology when compared to the other conventional technology. The first is the cell count. The number of bacteria in 1 unit gram or ml is very high. So 10,000 times higher than what is available in the market or the indigenous products. And the bacteria are able to survive till the point of application. And we are also able to maintain the cost of the technology to the level it is compatible with the existing technologies in agriculture. I'm talking only about agriculture because healthcare is a premium segment. Now, so we have been working with various crops and various farmers. In most cases, what we have achieved on ground is actually we are able to reduce the input cost by 20 to 30% for the farmer and also increase the yield by 20 to 30%. So the farmer is also happy because he's getting a cost benefit, and there is also a quality improvement in the soil and in his yield, which means it is also environmentally and nutritionally good to use bacteria for agriculture. Now, let me move on to the next technology or the next level of technology that FIB-SOL is working on, and which is not fully commercial, but it is a technology of tomorrow. Now, so when you talk about nanocarriers, there are the advantage that nanocarriers provide is actually a very high surface area. So the lesser the molecular size, the more amount of surface is available for whatever purpose we are going to use this, either for entrapment, filtration, or any other purpose. So this is the advantage of being nano. Now, when you talk about nano, the material types could be either particles. So you have nanoparticles, small particles in the size of nano. So any particle below the size of 60 nanometers is considered as nanoparticle. And now you also have nanofibers. So when you say nanofibers, these are actually, if you see your yarn, right? Your yarn or your thread or even your hair. So these are all fiber structures. So they have continuous fibers that are running through. In case of nanofibers, the fiber dimension or the fiber diameter is something less than 100 nanometer. And these fibers can be actually woven or non-woven, and they will be able to form a mat. In most cases, these are two-dimensional arrangements. And then you have films. So you have thin films which has a single layer of these fibers, basically used in sensor technologies and in other material science technologies. So these are the type of nanomaterials. And why do we need nanomaterials? So if you say in our application, mainly we are talking about controlled release, slow release, and instant release using nanomaterials. In the sense, when you put it at the site of application, you should be able to release your bioactives immediately, instantly, or you can, in case of wound healing, you need a sustained release. So actually, you design your polymers in such a way that it gets released in a very sustained fashion. Then you have something like in case of even sewage treatment. So in such cases, they look for sustained release nanomaterials. So based on the application, these can be tuned to release your bioactives or even your chemical actives in a different manner. So some of the examples are given here. Now, what is the, I'm going to mainly focus on the fiber architecture, because fibers is what FIB-SOL is working on. So I will be concentrating more on the fiber. But There are, as I have mentioned, there are these nanospheres. You must have heard of the nanoparticles. Basically, it has the active inside the core, and then you have a polymer layer around it, which actually preserves your core molecule. This is something similar to your microsphere. Most of you here must have known something about emulsions, right? So you have your, whenever you talk about emulsions, your microspheres, your double emulsions. So the technology has also been working a lot, because this is one basic delivery mechanism that can work really well. So in case of nano also, it's similar. So you have a core where you have the hydrophobic or hydrophilic based on the solvent in which it is suspended, and you have a shell, vice versa. So this is how, and mostly it is the using the polymers. This is how the nanospheres actually work. And in case of fiber technology, you have a fiber. Either there are two ways in fiber. So these fibers actually are placed next to next. They form a woven or non-woven mat based on which their thickness and their surface area differs. And even in these fibers, there could be an encapsulation, which means the bioactive could go inside the fiber architecture, or they stick on the surface of the fiber architecture based on the molecule. But having said that, the major advantage is you have a uniform way of putting your bioactives in the fiber structure. And then there is this film wherein you have just a blend, and then you just make a film out of it, and then it's a simple extrusion technique. So these are the various types of nanomaterials that can be used for deliverables. And since I'm going to talk about the fiber architecture, so the fiber architectures can be actually made by different ways. So one is the blend, and one is the emulsion, and one you have a core shell structure. So in a blend or emulsion, you have the bioactives blended with your polymer, and then you extrude out. So this nanofibers are made by various technologies. There are template drawing, there are a lot of other technologies, sol gel technologies, lot of other technologies, but today we are using electrospinning in FIB-SOL. And so you also have a like you can have emulsion made, and then you can actually spin it. That is also possible. A simple blend and then an emulsion. And then you have a core shell arrangement wherein you have two needles, one from where the core comes and one from where the shell comes, the shell polymer comes out, and then you have a ground collector. So this technology is very, if you have to explain in a simple language, how do we make these nanofibers? So making nanofibers is you mix it with the polymer carrier, and you subject it to a high voltage difference, and you extrude it through a narrow orifice wherein your jet, from where the jet emerges, is highly positively charged, and the collector is highly grounded, or it is highly negative compared to your positive charge. So at this voltage difference, what happens is the polymer gets drawn towards the collector, and since it is also coming from a narrow orifice, you have a very small thin line of material getting drawn. So now a very thin line, which means there is a very huge surface area available for the atmosphere, and the polymer dries up. So any solvent there dries up, and now it gets converted into a solid mat in the ground collector. So this is how you make it. You must have seen how plastic sheets are made, right? This is something similar extrusion technique, but except that you have a narrow orifice spinner to make it into the nano. The fiber structure is actually nano. That's a difference. Now let me move on to what all you can do with this technology. So with this technology, you can actually use this as a carrier for microbials. Any bacteria can be put into this. Since we're talking about agriculture, you can have biofertilizers, you can have biopesticides, you can have other plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. And when we talk of biochemicals, you can actually entrap biostimulants. Biostimulants, basically, even an amino acid is a biostimulant. You have molecules like signaling molecules like quorum sensors like acyl homoserine lactons or isoflavones. So these are all biostimulants. And you can have enzymes. So agriculturally important enzymes can be xylanases, it could be lignases, it could be lignocellulases, hemicellulases, cellulases. So anything that could actually compose an organic matter can be considered as agriculturally important enzyme. And if you talk about synthetics again could be something like, as I mentioned, the phytokeratins or any other signaling molecule that is important, like an acetylcysteine or something like that can also be spun, and you can actually increase the shelf life. Apart from that, you can also try to spin, because these are all new technologies, which some of you here might also be trying later. Of course, FIB-SOL is working in most of them, but still, so you can have fertilizers and pesticides also going into this. So these are the various types of molecules you can actually spin. And now this is exactly how the scanning electron microscope of a nanofiber mat looks. And if you see, the scale is just 2 micrometers. So in this 2 micrometer, you see there are a lot of number of fibers in this. So lesser the dimension of the fiber, you can find more fibers in a particular unit area. This is what we mean by saying higher surface area. And now this is a product and we have a patent on this. So it just looks like a handkerchief, and this is sufficient for 1 acre. So you just take this handkerchief, you dissolve it in water, and then you apply. So this is one of the best patents that came out of IIT. It won the JC Bose Award of IIT Madras, and also went on to win various global awards. We are still not in the commercial. Of course, we've got all the clearances and other things, but I think it's going to take some more time for us to be in the market. This is another technology that FIB-SOL has been working on, which might be of interest to you. Like we've been discussing about biostimulants. And so here, the quorum sensing molecules, which actually drives your plant growth promoting rhizobacteria to the rhizospheric zone of the plants. We used some of these molecules in order to and we actually change the structure of the polymers. By ring opening polymerization, we have actually increased the shelf life of some of these acyl homoserine lactons, and this basically draws your good bacteria or beneficial bacteria to the rhizospheric region. So the idea here is we actually go one step ahead, and we don't produce bacteria in the labs or in your industry. Rather, we signal the soil to make your own rhizobacteria is the thought process behind this technology. We've got a patent, US patent, and this technology is it to commercialize. This is the next generation technology, of course. And the other interesting thing that we have developed in collaboration with other University of Glasgow is actually coming up with electrospin sensor substrates coated on jute bag for real-time monitoring of grain quality and storage conditions. So any moisture in your storage bag can be identified using these sensors. So this has been what you see on the top of the sack or the gunny bag is actually a nanofiber sensor. And now this is in order to improve the post-harvest preservation, wherein the tomatoes and other things are actually coated with your nanofibers. And this is also an industrial design for warehouses. And this was also developed at IIT Madras, and part of this technology is also licensed by FIB-SOL. And yeah, this is healthcare, so I'm not getting into it. Apart from that, they're also trying to, like I had mentioned, trying to entrap chemicals and pesticides into nanofibers, basically to reduce the quantity of application of these pesticides and to ease the application part of it. Yeah, so this is, so again, we talked about the enzyme. So here, one of the enzymes that we have used is, actually, just excuse me 1 minute. So one of the enzymes that we have used here is pectinase, and as you are aware, pectinase can actually cleave some of the organic matters, and it can be used as a for decomposition and other things, and also for the food in the food industry. So that is where we were interested in actually trying this technology in order to entrap pectinases. And so this is one more organic biopesticide that we try to entrap in our polymers. Yeah. So with this, yeah, these are some of the awards and recognitions that FIB-SOL has received for the various technologies that has been developed. And these are some of the uploads that we have. And these are our partners, some of our partners. Yeah, thank you. And I would look forward for any questions you have.
Thank you, Dr. Kabir. The session is open for discussion. If you have any doubts or questions, you can ask.
So if you aren't asking me any questions, I'm going to ask you some questions. Since you have been present at the entire session, so rather let me ask you some questions. So how many of you here, most of you are from biotechnology, right? Am I right? Anybody, one of you can raise your hands and
yes,
let me
ma'am, like biotechnology and life sciences.
Good. Okay. So now, how many of you know about the process of nitrogen fixation? So what is nitrogen fixation? Can one of you answer me that question? So today's entire session basically was addressing nitrogen fixation actually. So how many of you here know what is nitrogen fixation? One of you?
To replenish nitrogen content in the soil by active enzymes and organic methods.
Okay. Apart from that, what is microbial nitrogen fixation? Okay, so microbial nitrogen fixation is conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonium. So today, whatever business is happening, whatever is happening in the entire globe is actually based on this. I mean, I'm very surprised, but I think this is something you should connect with where you are living today. See, because the urea or the other, I mean, leave alone your phosphorus and potassium, the urea that today we are dependent on, the urea that is getting manufactured, the urea for which you need raw materials from other countries, the urea for which you need petrochemicals from other countries, where you are dependent on others, where other countries are dependent on us, and all this entire politics and entire business that is happening is based on this. And you know, the basis is, this is because plants which are very independent cannot make their own nitrogen, or they cannot actually make their own ammonium. That is the only problem plants have, and that's the only exploitation we have. So the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonium is called as nitrogen fixation. And this conversion cannot happen by plants. Plants lack only that. Otherwise, they make their own food, they do everything else. This is the only thing they lack, mechanism they lack. But by nature, the bacteria that present in the soil actually can do this. They can convert your N2 plus adding hydrogen. N2 plus H gives you NH3 plus in the presence of an enzyme called nitrogenase. This is called as biological nitrogen fixation, BNF. I don't know whether you've heard of rhizobium, your leguminous crops, leguminous plants, this, that, so many things you read. I think all of you, like whomsoever or whatever age you are, I'm not able to see you people, but one concern that I have is please try to connect to what you're reading and connect to the world where you are reading. Your textbook is not something different from where you're living, please. So please open your eyes and see where you are living and what is that you're really trying to read. Whatever knowledge you're trying to gain it from the core level and not somewhere superficially. I'm very surprised. But yes, at least if I'm able to give this insight, I think you will be using this in whatever you're doing henceforth. Any other, I mean, try to connect it. There's no such thing which is independent of another thing here in science. So please try to connect where you are and how you are, what you're doing, what you're reading, and what is the context in which you are reading. So this you will understand. So this is where we are talking. The soil bacteria and other things, safe soil campaign, all that is happening is based on this actually. So if you're going to deprive the quality of the soil and you're going to kill all the soil bacteria, which means there is going to be no bacteria which is going to convert your nitrogen into ammonium. In the sense, you will be totally dependent on urea. For urea, you know how much of metric tons of carbon dioxide gets emitted for production of single ton of urea. 1 ton of urea, almost 80 metric tons of carbon dioxide gets released, which means we are polluting the environment. This is one of the major reasons for global warming. And so, and again, with less amount of bacteria, the carbon dioxide sequestration that is going to happen because of your bacteria is also going to go down. This is the entire politics, economics, business, whatever you call, is based on this. So now this is what everybody is trying to do, retrieve the soil quality. The basic science has to be understood before retrieving soil quality, because you would have heard that a lot of countries went globally, they try to go organic, and a lot of countries are trying to go organic. But a simple science behind this, you cannot go organic today completely because you will land up in food shortage. So slowly try to retrieve the soil, bring back the bacteria which can do the function of fixing nitrogen by itself. Don't reduce chemicals. I mean, don't stop chemicals, but reduce chemicals so that you can preserve all your fuels. You can preserve all your natural resources, fossil resources, and then try to address these issues through natural bacteria, because bacteria are intended to do this and they were there in the soil. So we have to give them back to the soil. And this is what FIB-SOL is trying to do. And this is what I've been trying to address using technology, of course, using technology. So where you guys are all in biotech, so future technologists who should have a clear understanding of all the concepts. And I think unless until you have a clear understanding of the concepts, it's going to be very difficult for you to come up with solutions to real life problems. I know you're all very young, you're just starting your career, but still, in whichever subject you are, in whichever you're learning, please learn it thoroughly to the core. Don't study. So this is my humble request to you. So that's the reason I asked you this question. What is this nitrogen fixation, which is a very simple basic theory, no offense, because I've seen this in many places. Even many places I've seen this basic understanding and link is actually missing. I think that is where this industry academy, that's what actually this initiative is for, to make that industry academia connection. Please make use of this to understand what you should be concentrating on and how you should learn. Actually, that is where your future is going to be shaped up. So please pay attention to whatever lectures are going on and try to correlate to on-ground real problems. So this entire program is arranged for this purpose only. So that is, you are all the next generation who are going to do this for the country. So please be aware of this. So this is one question. And did anybody here understand what FIB-SOL was trying to do? Again, I think it's going to be Archit, because Archit has been answering continuously. There is. So I'm prompting you to ask questions because, see, it is not that I want to understand from you how much you listen to the lecture or something, but at least I just want to understand if any one of you here has a doubt or something, even if a single doubt, a single question is being answered, it will help you in future.
Please make the session interactive for students. Can you just summarize what you learned from the presentation? Any ideas?
Or you could even give me a feedback saying, ma'am, you were fast, I didn't understand what you were talking. Anything you could say, and I would love to listen something from you guys. Okay, so let me just come back and say that this is what we were trying to address. We were trying to address that the bacteria that does these functions, the natural functions of giving nitrogen to the soil and other things, are being delivered to the bacteria at a very high payload. Payload in the sense, number of bacteria is very huge. And the second thing is they are alive. So these are the two things we are trying to address. And why very high is because today's soil is deprived of carbon. And Archit, I'm going to ask you this question directly. Why do you need carbon in the soil?
Energy content, ma'am, or oil, to provide plant with the energy and to retain water retention.
Okay, good. Archit is making an effort, but just to clarify, because I know you are too young, just to clarify, the carbon, plants don't need carbon. Why? I'm sorry, this goes on in a loop, but plants don't need. They have photosynthesis. Exactly, they do photosynthesis. They make their own food, so they don't need carbon. But you keep hearing that soil has to have organic carbon. That is because these bacteria needs carbon. So whatever soil bacteria is there, they need carbon. So these bacteria actually eats upon that carbon and they start living. And once they live, they actually provide the plant with the nitrogen that the plant needs. They provide it with the phosphorus and potassium that the plant needs. They provide it with the micronutrients. They solubilize them. They don't make minerals. Bacteria doesn't make minerals, but they make them into nanomaterials. They make them into water-soluble materials. That property they have. So they actually give this to the plant so that the plant actually becomes better, grows faster, etc. So this is the basic science behind it. The safe soil, the organic carbon. The base is because you actually enrich or you actually grow the bacteria that is present in the soil using organic carbon. That's the reason we are actually trying to retain the organic carbon content in the soil by using your cow dung manure, by other manure, the bagasse or whatever we are using today, is to enrich the soil with the carbon so that the bacteria gets enriched and they do the function. So this is what it is. So these are some insights you can later on. Now I think you can make the connect. Yeah, now the connection.
You mentioned that those patches, those paper patches or active reagent. I was trying to ask how much effective they are as compared to those nanomolecules or pouches. solution.
Okay. So if you see this, actually, this paper patches are actually nanofibers. It's again a nanotechnology. The only difference is instead of giving them as particles, we are giving them as fiber. So they are much more better than even your nano small particular material. The reason being, so whenever you have a nano particle or a nano material made, it is very difficult in order to maintain them as a nano material. This is something in the technical part of it, because you need to have an emulsion in order to keep them in the nano form. Now, when you make them into fiber, you actually compartmentalize them in the sense they don't get aggregated. The problem of keeping them in a solution is actually lesser. So fibers are much better when compared to nanoliquids, or you have nanoparticles suspended in liquids. So fibers are much efficient when compared to your nanofibers, nanomaterials actually suspended in liquids. That's the advantage nanofibers provide. And the other issue is whenever you talk of nanoparticles in the form of powders, there's always a chance of they getting entry into your biological system through your nose. So it's very fine particles. So you just inhale them and then they actually go to your lungs, eyes, and other parts. When you talk about nanofibers, that issue is sorted out because they are in a solid form. They're actually compartmentalized, means somebody is actually holding all these molecules in place unless until it is getting redissolved and getting applied in the field. So that is the advantage of nanofibers. So this is also a part of nanotechnology. Only difference is it's a bit the next level of nanotechnology. That is the advantage of your nanofibers. And the other important advantage, the bacteria is stable in nanofibers for almost 2 years compared to our nano encapsulated liquid that we have today in the market, which is almost 1 year. In the nanofibers, it could go to eternity. So we have tested for 2 years, but considering the technology, you can maintain the bacterial count in nanofibers even say for 3 to 4 years. So that is the other advantage of having a nanofiber. Definitely fiber technology is something much more advantageous than whatever is available today in R&D and in the market. But the problem is the scale. So today, scaling up this technology is something very difficult. We don't even have equipments to scale it up. So we have to build the entire machinery and we have to work on it. And this is going to be, we need a lot of partners. We need enough commercial partners. We need enough R&D partners to do this. So it may take some time. Good, Archit.
As ma'am,
Yeah.
as it rains, and also I want to ask how they are stable when rains and floods comes in the field.
Okay. So if you think of nanofibers, see nanofiber material, especially the product that FIB-SOL has developed, it is water soluble. Of course, I think that is what you're asking. But what happens is we actually, in the site of delivery, we solubilize it. We don't spread it as fibers. It is not a sheet that will be applied on the field. So at the site of application, we actually solubilize these fibers and then make them into liquid, or make them into a form which can be easily applied. We convert them into liquid, we mix them with soil, we mix them with urea or whatever, and then we actually broadcast them. So we ensure that this will become a liquid when it is in the field. It will not be as fiber. Once it is liquid, the bacteria is released into the liquid and then it enters into the soil. In the soil, when you talk about biofertilizer technology, this will be existing as biofertilizer technology, not as a nanofertilizer technology in the field. So in the field, the bacteria survives compared to your chemical fertilizers. When you have a chemical fertilizer, when it rains, it gets leached, means water just washes off your chemicals. But when you have your biofertilizer, they enter into the rhizospheric zone of the plant. In the sense, they'll go and bind to the plants, and plants and bacteria have a signaling mechanism so that the bacteria doesn't get leached from the soil. So that is the advantage of a bacterial system compared to a chemical system. So even after application, 1 hour you give them after a soil application, they'll be traveling to the rhizospheric region, in the sense the root zone of the plant, which is subsoil. So they will go there and they will harbor themselves. So the plant sends certain signals to these bacteria, and bacteria send certain signals to the plant, which will harbor them in the rhizospheric zone. They are not on the surface soil, which means they don't get leached. So this is the other advantage of biofertilizer technology.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good, Archit. I'm very happy you asked me questions. Thank you, Archit.
Anyone else want to ask questions?
Yes. If nothing else is there, I wish you all the best. And thank you, BIS, for calling me again for this opportunity. Always good to talk with young minds and very impressive questions. Thank you so much for the session. Thank you for the opportunity.
Dr. Kavita, for joining us.